BlogTalk Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Chrism. And I'd like to welcome you to another program, another conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience. In this conversation, I would like to talk with you about Kundalini and Judgement. But before we get into the conversation, I would like to thank everybody who showed up at the New York seminar and the Ireland seminar that took place at Newgrange. Beautiful, beautiful, wonderful people. I'd like to thank Amelia Santara for organizing it and orchestrating it and allowing it all to come together. Amelia, you've done a wonderful job, and I want to validate all of your efforts towards these issues. So thank you very much, Amelia. And just to let everybody know that Amelia and I are in the same room, so we're going to get a real definite echo because our laptops are so close to each other. Right now, she's in the hold mode, but I'm looking right at her gorgeous face right now. And so with that in mind, I'd like to say hello to John O'Connor, who may be listening on his computer in between hands of poker. So, John, we're over here at your daughter's house, Yvonne, and we're broadcasting today, everyone. We're broadcasting from the city of Cork, in the county of Cork, in the country of Ireland. And it is an honor to be broadcasting from this location. Right now, the local time is just a little bit after 11 o'clock, and it's a beautiful evening here in Ireland, and we'll go ahead and get started. For those of you who are new to this program, I'd like to direct you to KundaliniAwakeningSystems1.com, and that's the numeral 1.com, for more information about the Kundalini as it comes through Chrism. Also, I'd like to direct you to Kunalini, the number 0, Chrism, the number 0, Kundalini at YouTube, on the YouTube networks. There's about 290 YouTube videos all about the Kundalini there. And you can come to, on the Yahoo network, you can go to Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at yahoogroups.com and Kundalini Healing at yahoogroups.com, as well as Facebook groups called Kundalini Awakening ! Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, and Kundalini Healing on the Facebook network. So there's some points of availability for this information to be given to you free of charge, and it is that way because the Kundalini comes to us without monetary valuation. It is within us all, and it can be appreciated by all of us without having to pay through the nose, as some folks have to do. They get a teacher, and the teacher says, "Oh, it's $5,000 a ticket." Well, not here. Not here. This is affordable. This is free. This is a service. This is a selfless service given by John and Amelia O'Connor in the Kingdom of Kerry in Ireland. And I would like to thank both of them for that great gift that they give the world, literally the world, as Amelia posted today on Facebook. This is broadcasting all over the world, and I want to welcome you, the world, to this conversation. And right now, I'm going to put myself on hold, and I'm going to give the wheel over here to Amelia.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. 1 second. Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here, and I'd like to welcome you all to. Okay, I think we're having a small technical difficulty. Chrism, if you could just hand me your thing and you put it on this to me. Okay. You go red and make me green. Yeah. Hello, everybody.
Well, evidently it's not going to work with two iPads in the same room. So I'm going to hand this iPad over to her, and hopefully this will work. Here comes Amelia.
Okay, hello everybody. That's great. Thank you, Chrism. It's working well now. I'm delighted to be here in my home city of Cork and to be welcoming Chrism to Ireland. Was a great pleasure for me, and meeting everybody in New York last week was a wonderful experience. So hello to everybody. I know some of you are going to be listening, and it was a great privilege, and we had great fun at the seminar there in New York last week. Hello to everybody that attended the seminar in Newgrange. I know some of you are also listening here tonight. As Chrism said, we're in Cork, and this is my hometown, and we're in my daughter's house tonight because she has internet. So thank you, Yvonne, very much appreciated. Usually at this stage, I give the information about the seminars, and of course that's over now, and I won't be doing that. But just to let you know, Rosemary will be giving you information about the seminars that are happening in Minnesota, and these are happening in September, this weekend. So I'm very excited and delighted that there's another opportunity for people to attend a seminar, to meet with Chrism, to meet with other Kundalini people in a beautiful city that's really well positioned for access from many places in the USA. And I think it's a great as well if you're coming from Canada to attend the seminar. So if you're in that area of the world, please consider it. And that will be the final opportunity to meet with Chrism and other Kundalini people at a very special gathering in 2014. And we don't know when there'll be another seminar after that. So please do contact Rosemary if you have an interest in this. I will just give you the dates, and Rosemary will fill you in again herself later if she phones in. It is September the 27th and September the 28th. And Rosemary will be giving this information out on Kundalini Awakening System, on the Facebook groups. So you can check it out there, and she will also be giving an email. I would like to, at this stage, also give you the opportunity to make a donation if you should so wish to do so. And there is no charge for anything that Chrism does, but yet we live in this real world. There are bills to pay, there are internet, internet must be kept up, and telephone bills. There's just bills to pay. This is the world we live in. And so therefore, the only means of finance that Chrism has is through the donations that he receives from people who make the choice to contribute to him. There is never any, expectation or pressure to do so, but all donations are very gratefully received with love and much appreciation. So I'm going to give you the website for that. It's www.ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and on the top right-hand corner is the donate button. And thank you very much.
All right. So this is Chrism. I'm back, and I just want to echo a lot of what Amelia just said, but the Facebook group is Kundalini Awakening ! That's where Rosemary will be posting her information, and I believe Rosemary is on right now, so I'm going to go ahead and put her on. Hello, Rosemary, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Hi, can you give us the information about your seminar?
Yes, it will be, as you've heard, September 27th and 28th are always a Saturday and Sunday, and it will be here in the Twin Cities. It is actually the St. Paul side of the river, 10 minutes from the airport. We have the seminar in a hotel, and we have rooms that will be blocked for us there. Eileen Lauro is working with me, too, so that we can get this word out to as many places as possible here in the Twin Cities. And if any of you have friends here that you'd like for them to be introduced to Kundalini, this would be the perfect opportunity. And I love what Amelia said. I didn't think about Canada. My goodness, yes, we're very close. So as soon as we work out the details, we'll have other information for you. And I'm counting on having a turn in every blog talk to say whatever else we know or to remind everyone. So thank you, Chrism.
Okay. All right, Rosemary. Well, thank you for that information, and thank you, Eileen. Eileen, I see that you're on too, and I want to thank you. Looks like you might have a question. I'm going to put you on hold, Rosemary, and bring Eileen on.
Yes.
Here we go. Stand by, Rosemary. Hello, Eileen.
Hi, Chrism. I don't have a question. I just called in to listen.
Okay.
So I'm glad the seminars. I am really happy the seminars went well. They're always unique and very worthwhile, and so I'm glad everyone enjoyed themselves.
Well, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for teaming up with Rosemary, and I look forward to seeing you there at that seminar. And we'll go ahead and work out those details. When we're off air. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put you on hold and begin this conversation. Okay, everyone, this is a conversation about Kundalini and judgment, and I would like to say that judgment, in many cases, is an action of the ego. We judge others by our own cultural values without regard to really looking at the effect of the ego as we make these judgments. I would also like to say hello to Lauren White and Julie and the guests, the 4 guests that are in the chat room right now. The chat room is up if you'd like to partake in there. Also, to everybody who's listening in the archives, I want to say hello to you and with much appreciation that you have taken the time to listen to this information. With judgment, we have to be very, very careful with how we insert it into our expression with other people. It's incredibly important with the Kundalini because of the amplification the Kundalini gives a person. If you go into judgment over a person or a situation that involves people, or just as a descriptive function of our life in society, say, there's a homeless man. Well, there's all kinds of judgments around what it is to be homeless, or you see a wealthy person. Well, there's all kinds of judgments about what it is to be wealthy, and we need to really begin to back away from the ego's insistence on committing judgmental orchestrations upon other people in life and society. This is a very important quality because not only does it program our ego consciousness into an endless spiral of judgmentalism, but it also can sometimes inflict hurt upon the people who are being judged in one way or another. And I would like to invite you to consider the idea that when we are with the Kundalini, when the divine is upon us and within us and expressing through us in many ways, we are beyond judgment. Divinity will look at you and your application of judgment upon other people, upon other situations that include people, with an eye towards your ego. Is this person letting their ego get out of control, or is this person allowing their ego to really begin to dominate their Kundalini expression? And so karma can be made in these ways. And the karma that a Kundalini awakening or activated person makes is often dealt with in this life. So, that saying from the Bible, actually is quite appropriate at this time. Judge not, lest ye be judged. And that's kind of a fear-mongering way to say don't judge people, because, there's the punishment of being judged. But there is that definite possibility Of course, the Bible doesn't take into account your karma and what may be causing you to go into judgment. That might be beyond of an ego level, but that's okay. As a generalized understanding, it is best within the Kundalini awakening equation to not fall into the trap of judgment over other people. And Amelia, I see you would like to say something about this.
Okay, Chrism, thank you very much. Judgment, one of the things about judgment, there are so many different ways we probably, are judgmental without even realizing it. I remember, for me, one of the things that I came to learn was in how I gave to people. I would have wanted to show love. I would have wanted to be of service. I would have wanted to give to somebody. And for a while, I was doing that without realizing that as I was giving, we'll say, let's just take money as an example, although there are different ways, but let's take that as an example. I would be going to give somebody some money, but I wasn't aware that the way I gave the money could be quite judgmental. I wouldn't give it to somebody if I felt maybe they were going to use it for drugs or drink or that sort of thing. I was making a judgment, and I was being conditional, and I was withholding. And so that was something that I learned, to be non-judgmental about, that if I'm going to give, if I'm going to show love, that I do it without judgment and I give it unconditionally.
Excellent example, I have to say. Excellent example. This happens all the time. Is that person deserving of our donation? Is that person, did they do their job well enough? Did that waitress refill our water glass to the point where we like it to be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And it just kind of goes on and on and on. And you can see the ramification of judgment upon others in our real life. Now, this isn't saying that you throw away all discernment with regards to having judgment within your environment of living life. If you see a rabid dog walking your way, well, you're going to need to make a judgment so that rabid dog doesn't come to you or to a loved one of yours, and you'll make a judgment maybe to sequester that dog and maybe have the animal control unit come out and pick it up and test it for rabies, things of that nature. This type of judgment is good, and these types of judgments are survival-based. Rabies is not a happy thing to get. And so you make the appropriate judgment when you follow, some of the formulas that I just described. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm really talking about judging a race or judging an individual based upon your own cultural values that may conflict and typically will conflict with either the activities or the expressions that a certain ethnic group would have. Whether it's covering your head all the time or covering your face all the time. In France, they won't let. There's a law against the veil. So anybody of the Islamic faith, who is a female, won't be allowed to wear that veil because it disturbs other people somehow. This is an erroneous judgment, in my opinion, and yet here I go making a judgment on the French government. You can see how easy, a person can slip into this. And so take a moment and just reflect on how you use judgment in your everyday life. And while you're taking that moment, I want to give you the guest call-in number, which is 347-934-0026. Go ahead, feel free to call in or call in just to listen on the phone. I see that the chat room has a few more people in it at this point. Kundalini can, in the early stages during the ego detoxification stages, can become very, very pronounced to the point of being an insisted program that you put out onto other people. I'm looking for the word at the moment. But it can become a almost like a fist as we use our judgment and our feelings in addition to the detoxifications that we're having, and this can be quite damaging for the people who are receiving the end, because you got to remember that Kundalini puts out a lot of power in a person, puts out a lot of force, a lot of emotion and a lot of energy behind that emotion. So it's very important to begin to retrain the way you think and the thoughts that come to you with regards to people whom you may not be comfortable with, or people who are different from you. The homeless person is a good example. When I was homeless, you get judged a lot when you're homeless. You're classified as a failure, you're classified as a drug addict, or you're classified as an addict of some sort, or you're classified as just someone who does not fit into society. And it's these classifications within the Kundalini awakening context that I want you to be aware of. It isn't appropriate for we as Kundalini awakened people who are coming into the divine flesh, and people who are having the divine energy come in to make our flesh divine, to go into judgment of another culture or another person within a certain expression of life at that time in their life. It is not appropriate for us to do this. And I want you to really consider bringing your ego and the thoughts that the ego comes with under control with regards to this. You see somebody walking a certain way. I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, when Amelia and I drive around strange cities in Ireland, which she hasn't been to very much and I haven't been to at all. We're, instead of using the GPS, we seem to do a Kundalini style of GPS, which basically means we just roam the streets all over the place, making U-turns and turning this way and turning that way and going, was it this way? I don't know. What do you think? Was it that? No, I don't know. So it kind of gives you an idea that it is by God's grace that we get anywhere here in Ireland. We made a U-turn in a town of Drogheda, which is in central to northern Ireland in the county of Meath. Actually, quite a beautiful, beautiful city. One of the cities that Cromwell came in and destroyed. Very beautiful place. Lots of beautiful cathedrals and et cetera and so forth. And so we were making a U-turn there, trying to find our way to avoid the downtown traffic, and as we made the U-turn, this large man, all dressed in black with black hair and black eyes, and he comes walking in a very unbalanced way towards us, not in a drunken way, but sort of that way, but not completely that way. And I immediately noticed him, and I felt a surge of compassion for this man. But at first there was that flash of, oh my gosh, this is a drunken individual. We don't want to hit him with the car, because we didn't know which way he was going to lean, whether it was going to be in front of the car, on the side of the car, where it was going to go. And as soon as I made that consideration, oh my gosh, the Kundalini kicked in with huge levels of compassion. And when you have the Kundalini in this way, you can go into that person's scenario. And this person has been living his whole life with a movement disability. I got to be careful because I'll be going into bliss very soon here, and I just can't do it. I'll be handing it over to Amelia as I go through the bliss. I saw in his eyes, I saw in the creases of his eyes, the crow's feet of his eyes, I saw the pain and the misery and the difficulty that he'd had throughout his life. And I saw the judgment that people there in his own hometown were making about him. And I saw him really, really trying hard. And he even looked at me and he had a face that was very kind of twisted into a permanent grimace, through the activities. Hang on here. Hang on. through the activities that he had to go through in order to just survive in this town of Drogheda in Ireland, and he tried to smile. And I smiled back and immediately reached out with a healing for him. Just not a healing that was going to cure all his ills, but a healing that was just going to give him joy in that moment. And I would encourage you, too, those of you who have the Kundalini, and many of you do, I know you do, I would encourage you to also go beyond the surface, ego-based judgment about how a person looks or how a person stands or how they move around, and look a little bit closer into the people that you may be concerned about in a judgmental fashion. And realize it's a very easy thing to slip into, certainly within the Western society, as our society, can also be seen as a level of judgments that are used as building blocks that help us organize our society in certain caste-like systems. And so I want you to be aware of that. This man is a beautiful soul, struggling in a very, very difficult environment, socially, emotionally, and physically. And yet, even as our eyes locked for just a brief second, he was reaching for that smile. And I got to hand it over to Amelia.
Yes, indeed, he was. And I had that time with Chrism, because Chrism told me about this as it was occurring, and it was very special. It was a really great teaching and a lesson for me, because I had also seen the gentleman, and I had begun to also make some judgments of him until being with Chrism, in that moment. It is such a brief moment when people pass in front of us and beside us. We make such instantaneous judgments and dismiss people, and it's an opportunity to actually give, to allow our Kundalini to, the more we do that, the more we can give love and give in the way that Chrism spoke about. I'm passing it back again.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah. Lately, I have to say, with these seminars and with the experiencing I'm having here in Ireland and in New York, the bliss is coming really, really fast and furious, and thank God for Amelia being here. Otherwise, you just get this, this sobbing man, on the radio.
I just want to say as well, I've asked Chrism to pass this back to me. I've been with Chrism, as have the people at the seminar, while he has been experiencing bliss. And when we were in New York, we used to hold hands together in a circle while Chrism left the bliss flow. And he, it's something that, as I'm sitting here, and it's very, very beautiful to watch and to feel, it really, really is. And while Chrism says the bliss is coming, I have to say it's a privilege to observe, to feel, and to be in its presence while this is happening, because the Kundalini is in it and is very, very present with me.
Okay, Lauren, I just looked at your post. It's a bit difficult. It's different than our usual program because we have these two laptops in the room. And Amelia, I'm going to ask you to hold very, very still, because even though your sound is off, your mic is still on.
Shall I turn it off? Do we need it at all?
No, go ahead. Turn it off. That's a great idea. And Lauren and Julie and everybody, I apologize for that, the rustling noises that are taking place. I know how sensitive these iPads can be. They have very, very sensitive microphones. And Amelia has just turned hers off. And Lauren, if you could write back again whether that has cleared up at all. There. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you very much. Yeah, with these iPads, you have to hold them so still in your hand because even the covers will make noise. I mean, the iPad cover that I have on it. Thank you, Lauren. So as we continue, I want you to kind of reflect in your life how you make judgments about other people. And Julie, thank you. You're following through it, and it's better now. And I apologize. Typically I'm in California, and Amelia is in Ireland, and that's how we set this thing up. And we're not very used to having the two iPads plus a laptop computer in the same room. So thank you for following through. Make a note to yourself about how important it is to begin to look at people through the eyes of the Kundalini. Excuse me. When you look at people through the eyes of the Kundalini does not see that person struggling with a mobility issue as anything but a beautiful soul on a very, very fast and difficult, almost vertical level of evolution and karmic balancing that they're going through. The levels of love are indescribable as the Kundalini looks at all of us as we struggle through our lives. Yes, it does make determinations, and it does come to conclusions about what we may need to do in order to accomplish the divine flesh in a better way, a safer way, a happier way, not only for us but for those around us. And I'm going to take this iPad out of this cover, so forgive the noise for the moment here. And I think in the future I will be doing it without the cover. There we go. Okay, that should be very, very different for people. Through the eyes of the Kundalini, we are all beautiful, beautiful, beautiful children. Not saying that in a demeaning way at all, but we are people who are engaged in a very difficult aspect of spiritual evolution, which is the Kundalini awakening. And all people will eventually have this type of awakening, whether it's in this body or if it's in another body somewhere else. People will come to this point, and I want to encourage you to begin to see others that way. See others in a very compassionate light, a very compassionate understanding. Do your best to fall away from judgments that are in some ways, watermarks of our society. As I'm here in Ireland, and a lot of drinking here goes on, and so there's a lot of jokes about pub crawls and the effects of alcohol on people, and there's a lot of mutual amusement that goes on here with regards to the effects of alcohol on people. And, I'm not so concerned about that so much, except for those people who are alcoholics. That's a different story, because alcoholism is an extremely difficult condition to have. Some people call it a disease. I'll call it a condition at this point. It's an extremely difficult condition to overcome and to come through in a safe and sane way, and not everybody makes it. Like Kundalini, not everybody makes it through the Kundalini. Sometimes people just commit suicide. And I want you to begin to soften your opinions and your judgments about people who engage in alcohol-related activities as a matter of addiction. Now, as a matter of, a group of guys or group of girls going out and just having a good time, well, I'd say laugh your head off. Have a good time. Poke fun at each other and, do, just have a real good time as much as you can. This is not the type of thing that I'm talking about. But when you see that person who may be crawling on the floor or literally, having a very difficult time That's a different scenario. And I'd ask you to shift your awareness away from judgment, or away from seeing people through the eyes of your ego. More and more, I'm going to encourage you to look through the eyes of your Kundalini. One moment. Got something in my mouth there. Look through the eyes of the Kundalini as much as you can. Now, I know that there are certain judgments in society, certainly in the society of the United States, that require you to see an individual within a level of, shall we say, survival-based judgmentalism, such as a robber who may be approaching you, or somebody who you wake up and find in your house, or maybe a person who is out to give you harm in some way or another. This is a different scenario. I'm not looking at that. I mean, sure, you can go into that with forgiveness, and because you have Kundalini, their mind will probably be changed about how they want to interact with you, whether or not they know it. So, as much as you can, look at all people with a softer gaze and with a richer level of love that is reaching out to them. Let's see. Amelia, can you come over here, please? And I want you to kind of man the laptop here, if you would. You know how to work these? Mm-hmm. Okay. And hold still, because this couch creaks.
Just second myself to that.
All right. Look at a person that. So, for instance, you take a suicidal person. With Kundalini, especially if it's Kundalini suicide, you need to look very carefully at that person and how they're asking for help, or what they're saying in order to ask for help, and how definitive their suicidal intentions are, and things of this nature. And you don't go into judgment. You just go into healing. You go into healing with it. And if it's beyond your experience, or beyond what you're able to access at this point with your Kundalini, you need to take it over to a professional. Don't be afraid to help the person make a call to, say, a suicide hotline or something of that level. But also just with people that you meet on the street, as Amelia and I met this gentleman just crossing the street. Our judgments can come so hot and so heavy and so fast in such a small amount of time. It's a good practice to begin with regards to your Kundalini, to begin to modify how you think about others, how you think about their lifestyle, how you think about their looks, how you think about their gender, how you think about the way they dress, how you think about the way their hairstyle is, or their makeup is, or their, whether or not they're really strong or really weak, really fat, really thin. I mean, really begin to see through the eyes of Kundalini. Oh, looks like our laptop just went down. Hang on a second. Now look, you're going to need to use this, okay? Stand by. You have to move this around, okay? That keeps the light on. Okay. Look into these areas. Look into these areas and be very, very careful now, because you have the Kundalini. And as I mentioned before, it's a very, very strong expression. And whether you know it or not, you may be telepathically sending instructions to another person to feel bad about how they look, or how they are, or what they're doing, or what they're not doing. Really begin to modify your natural proclivity within the Western society, certainly, in how you commit on another person. Okay? How have a look at that in yourself. Self-correct when you find yourself falling into these levels of judgment. Self-correct so that you don't make the same mistakes over and over and over and over. It's not hard to do. I did this too. Person cuts you off in traffic or something like that. You immediately go into judgment. Oh, well, they're an idiot or they're an asshole or something like that. And I want you to just take a step back and go, maybe they're just in a hurry. Maybe there's an emergency, a family emergency. There are other reasons why people are in a major hurry on the freeway and they might be cutting you off, and just let them go. Let them go ahead of you. It's probably not going to take too much time out of your schedule. Here's the guest call-in number if you'd like to call in, and you may have a comment about this. The number is 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. And you have something to pass on to me?
Yes, somebody here on the chat room has made a comment, and it's about suicide and addictions, and saying that, not at the moment, but yes, for much of my life, I've wanted to commit suicide and have done many of the drugs and, shut off that and many stupid things that should have ended my life. So.
Yeah, very important stuff, and thank you for posting. So not so much these days, but there was a time when you'd look at a person with a tattoo in the United States and go, oh my God, they must be, a sailor. They must be, someone who is really on the outskirts or the fringe of society. And not so now. Everybody, and their aunt seems to have a tattoo. So look at this. And look at how this fits in with your Kundalini. And this is the most important thing, because this is a conversation about your Kundalini and the amount of judgment that you insert into society vis-a-vis your Kundalini. As I started to mention before, you may be telepathic without even knowing it. You may be a sender, not so much of a receiver at first. Sometimes you become a very loud sender, and your reception capabilities may come later. And so this is something that I'd like you to consider, because as the Kundalini comes into your body and begins to circulate and transform your body into this power-packed, star of Kundalini grace, you need to begin to modulate your emotional body, your mental body, and most importantly, your ego body, which ties into all the bodies. The ego ties into all bodies of expression, not just those that are petty and competitive or things of that nature. It has filaments that go into the emotional body, so that you can feel good about yourself when you're doing a certain thing that society says is good, or that you feel is good, or that you want to do. And so, really begin to understand that the ego will infiltrate all aspects of your life. Even your spiritual body can be accessed by the human ego. My spiritual life is the only one that's true. You get a lot of spiritual religious competition here, especially in the United States, because we're very tolerant of many different forms of religion, except those that aren't like ours. We have Christian-based religions, Hindu-based religions, Islamic religions, and religions that are kind of homegrown, like Mormonism, or some of the other religions that started there in the U.S. A while ago. I believe Jehovah's Witnesses would be another one. So even into your spiritual evolution, will your levels of judgment begin to orchestrate how you live and how you express towards other people who are not the same as you. And even just having the Kundalini, they're not awakened, or they're way so awakened. Now I have a little bit of a issue with people who don't have Kundalini giving advice to people that do have Kundalini. To me, I see that more as a safety issue than anything else. They can give a person, such incredibly mistaken information that person could do harm to themselves. And so, I see that, and I will move against that every single time. I will move into helping the person clarify where they get their information, what their sources of information are, and maybe they want to receive Kundalini advice from those who actually have it. And this can come across sounding like a judgment, and I apologize if that is the case, but the intention is not as a judgment. The intention is to help the person come through and into the Kundalini in such a way that it is a positive, beneficial manifestation of grace upon them. But this goes on and on throughout our lives. Is he an A student? Is he an F student? Is she an A student? Is she an F student? Girls can't drive at night. And this is funny because I've just been driven for the last 2.5 hours at it seems 186,000 miles per hour by a woman driving on the other side of the road, shall we say. And I'm saying, half the time I'm reaching for the suicide handle only because I'm not used to, Amelia drives very, very, very well. She's a Formula One race car driver here in Ireland, and she knows her stuff. She knows her stuff. And so, you don't want to judge people, especially when that judgment is refuted right in your face. Okay? Women can have Kundalini, and women are great drivers, especially at night sometimes. We raced here from Dublin to Cork, which is about a 2.5 hour drive, maybe almost 3. Yeah. And she did great, even without cruise control, which stuns me because, I'm a cruise control kind of person. Anyway, the guest call-in number is 347-934-0026. When you're in a big city like Dublin or even Cork, you come across all different kinds of people. People doing their, just going through their life. We got there. We were wandering around Dublin just to see the place, and I had an opportunity to see many different people. A lot of people coming home after 5 o'clock. There's this big evacuation of the high-rise buildings at 5 or 5:30. Everybody's heading towards the buses or the subway. Or I'm not sure they have a subway. They have a rail line that's on top, and I met the nicest people, when we ask them for directions, because Amelia doesn't know Dublin that well either. She's a Cork girl, that's a very different city. Very, very nice people. And I just have to reiterate one thing that I've noticed in my travels around the world. There are a lot of sweet, nice people. And it doesn't matter how they're dressed, or what ethnicity they are, or what religion they are. People are just absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, helpful, loving individuals. And I want you to know that, those of you who may be afraid of traveling because, you've heard this about that group of people or this about that in another country, most of the people are nice people. They are very, very nice, and I want you to understand that. I'm sure you do. I'm sure the Kundalini activated an awakening, and those who are seeking an activation and awakening have that understanding. And as you get on, say, a network like, say, Facebook or Yahoo, Facebook mostly because it has that interactive ability to give instantaneous communication, or at least as close as you can get that while you're still tapping on a keyboard. Or on a virtual keyboard as you use on the iPad here. People are beautiful souls. And yes, you do have people that come out, they're cross, they're angry, they're disturbed, they're upset. I've just been dealing with a person who doesn't like the quality of the information I give on the website. And he's holding my feet to the fire. And then there are people that lie, that just fabricate things about me. on the internet as well, and so I just want you to know that I'm also a participant in the judgmentalism that occurs, and I think it's just I see it as a really excellent opportunity for forgiveness. You just need to forgive people. Not everybody's having a great day. Not everybody's having a good time in life. Like that gentleman that crossed the street in front of us, he's having a hard life. It's not an easy life for him, but he still finds the time to smile to people he doesn't even know as he crosses the street. And I would like you and as I will, use him as a great example on what it is you want to do, how it is you want to be. Think about it. Think about how you can change your life in a positive way that affects others in a positive way. How you can step out of that expected behavioral consequence of society that we call judgment. Now, let's separate that also from the judgment of a court system or the judgment that is used in the legal sense. This is not about that. This is not about that. This is about what we do to each other on the most intimate and inane ways throughout our day, throughout our night, throughout our scholastic experience, and into our adulthood as we interact with others in society. Begin to see through the gaze of the divine. Sometimes I've used this as an example in my teachings is look at people as they're just children. For those of you who are parents, maybe you have a 6-year-old or a 7-year-old, or you've had them in your life already, and maybe they're grown adults now. But you remember the innocence and the beauty of that child. Today, I wanted to take Amelia to an IMAX movie theater. I found one in Dublin, and as we're getting ready to go up the escalators, about 100, maybe 150 7 and 8-year-olds were in a group with their attendant adult guides. They had gone to see some movie, in the IMAX theater, and you see them and you watch them and you just see their purity and their innocence, and you can also see some of the society already beginning to rub off on them as far as judgments and whatnot. But by and large, they were very, very beautiful, beautiful, beautiful young people. And I just would encourage you to see that old guy asking for money on the street, or that person sleeping in a corner of a building in the rain. See them as that beautiful 5 or 6-year-old child that they once were. However it ended up for them being in that position that they're in right now, that child is still there. That expressive, beautiful child is still there. And this is how I will suggest you begin to see them. See them through the soft gaze of divine love. Don't, I should say, try not to make the judgment that because of whatever choices they've made in life that has brought them to the point where they're sleeping in the rain in the recess of a building, that they've failed in any way. It could just be a karmic thing that they need to go through, and this will end for them in a week or two, or a year, or 5 years. Remember, I was homeless for 12 with the Kunalini. Okay? I was the person that you'd see sleeping in the bushes. I must say, though, I did do my best to stay out of sight. In the United States, they can be a little difficult on the homeless people. And they'll want to arrest you or process you or, do all kinds of things with you. And so look at it this way. And as for those of you that are actually in the grace of the Kundalini right now, don't look at people that are having a challenging time as dangerous to you. You don't have to be afraid of these people. Don't look at the elderly as something that, oh my God, I don't want to look like that. Look at all those wrinkles. Don't go there. This is exactly what we're talking about in this conversation. I want you to go and give that elderly person a big hug. They're your grandparents in an expanded format. They are you and you are them, and they deserve that hug, that smile, that open door, that open hand. And I mean that open hand in friendship. Go visit them at the convalescent hospital. I have another student that I asked, to. I forget how it came about. I think I just said, okay, I want you to start visiting people in convalescent homes. And she did. And she has 3 solid friends, beautiful, beautiful people that she learns a lot from. Let me tell you, the elderly in our society have a lot to teach. But because we make an inaccurate judgment about their mental stability or their whether or not they have Alzheimer's or dementia or whatever it is, we make a judgment that keeps us from partaking of the wisdom they had to give us. And I want you Kundalini people to understand that there is wisdom at your fingertips in a convalescent hospital. Wisdom at your fingertips in a convalescent hospital. Wisdom at your fingertips in a VA hospital. As you know, our last show was at Jake and Eleonora's house, and Jake is a ex-Vietnam veteran. Hello, Jake. Hello, Eleonora. And Jake volunteers his time to go in and help those soldiers coming back from extreme traumatic events, having your legs blown off or some sort of a limb blown off, or having PTSD for years and years and years. You see, I mean, there are so many ways that we foist our judgments upon others without the necessity for doing so. It's not a survival scenario. It's a judgment, a judgmental scenario. And with the Kundalini, as I mentioned before, you may be a very powerful sender. And I want you to realize that even a look can transmit your thoughts. Not just to one person, but to a broad band based of people in a single environment. So really, really, really begin to reevaluate your thoughts and why you're thinking certain thoughts in certain ways. Kundalini is the most powerful energy a human body can hold while it still is a human physical body. Realize that with that power, that great, amazing power, comes a great and amazing level of responsibility. And part of that responsibility is changing how you think about those within your social environment. Changing how you respond to those thoughts about those in your social environment. Really, really dig deep. Really, really begin to understand the ramification of your thoughts and your actions that are backed up by a divine force, how that affects people, how that makes them feel. It's called compassion, my friends. The blitz is coming again, and I have to be careful that I don't say too many right things. Every time the Kundalini will give me bliss when I'm saying things like this, and so I just, if you start hearing a heavy breathing on the radio show, it's just me having a blissful experience, and oh, would I love for you to experience this bliss, this joy. It's like a bolt of sunshine that just barrels down upon the top of your head, and it just explodes within your heart. And you cannot help but to heave and sigh and sob sometimes with bliss. And I would like you to do that as you manifest a new way of communicating with society, communicating with your family, your friends, but more importantly, with absolute strangers. Okay. Now, I have to tell you that the battery just clicked off on the laptop, and so we can't see the chat group, you beautiful people in the chat group. So this is just a technological thing that we're dealing with. But this iPad has plenty of juice left, and we'll be able to continue this conversation. I would love for you to feel this bliss and to feel the communication between you and your Kundalini about how your interactions with society are. And I'm gonna give this iPad to Amelia so that she can kind of begin to give you her take on this. You have to remember that I've known Amelia since 2009, but her activation and her awakening into extreme levels of Kundalini have taken place, I think, within mostly in the last 2.5 years, and so you don't get to hear this from a Kundalini active woman too often. And I know that half of you out there are women, K-active women, people who are searching and actively going into the awakening response. Callie Koo, you're a new person who is into this. Julie, of course, we know about you and your excellent awakening process, and Eileen and Rosemary and all the people all the women, the sacred feminine, those who have the sacred feminine body. I want you to get it from a sacred feminine bodied viewpoint as well. And so here we go. Here's Amelia.
Thanks, Chrism. For me, everything that Chrism has said, all the examples that he has given, especially that one yesterday with the gentleman, that for me, I suppose, brought into a moment of time and a perfect example of how not to be judgmental. And what I have found with the Kundalini since it began, since it awakened and since I began to surrender to its agenda for me, is that moments like that expand when we open ourselves to them, when we open ourselves to the Kundalini and to hearing the words of a teacher such as Chrism is giving to us now, what he is saying. There is such an amazing opportunity for love and for giving into the population and into everybody that we meet, this non-judgmental and loving radiance and service and all of that. And something that occurred to me as well, Chrism, as you were speaking, is the judgment of ourselves. Sometimes we can be very judgmental of ourselves, and that's something as well that I have come to bring a change to. Maybe you'd say something about that. And another thing would be something that I have learned as well through the grace and blessings of Kundalini is it's very important that, we can actually accentuate judgment of people through passing on rumors, through gossip. We have to be very, very, I suppose, aware of how we judge others in what we perceive to not have a responsibility, that we don't have a responsibility for. And I've discovered that for myself. If I do that, I am also passing judgment. I might be, passing on a story that somebody else told me, but I'm making that judgment mine when I pass it to somebody else. I own it. I own the karma. And that's something that I have stopped doing. Well, have greatly become aware of. And that's something that I think is very, very important. And it's something in my life that again, it's a little bit like that gentleman. It was a split moment, just a moment where he passed us and I was offered that option. It's the exact same thing when somebody tells us a story, when somebody gives us a rumor, the way we judge what we're listening and we take it on board and we don't even give it a second thought or question. We just jump straight into judgment, and that is wrong. So, that's sort of what's coming to me there, Chris, and maybe about the self-judgment too.
Yeah. Now, the self-judgment, if it's within a Kundalini context, and if it's in a self-correction of the ego context, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Right.
But if it's a self-judgment that is nailing you to the cross for, for being raised a certain way, for having a certain color of skin, for being a certain gender or a certain sexual orientation, or, having a certain, character trait that society feels is less attractive than others, then no. Don't go into that against yourself. That's you attacking your divine body, and I want you to really look at that. And I'm very grateful for Amelia to bring that up, because in this society we're shown certain body styles. Let's just use the physical body. If you're overweight, or if you're underweight, and if the many places you are between. And I've been guilty of it myself, of making jokes about fat people, skinny people. I was raised in an environment where racism was accepted, judgmentalism about body types or mental status was accepted. I mean, every hurtful thing in the book almost seemed to be an acceptable matter of expression in my early life, and even up through my 20s. These days, if I have a student that's overweight and I know that weight is beginning to demolish their body, well, yeah, I'm going to say something. I'm going to say, back off of whatever it is you're doing, eating, or if you're not exercising enough, or if you're in some sort of a masochistic cycle, back off of that. Don't kill yourself in a way, or damage yourself in a way that you're doing. Back it off. Let's change the scenario up here. I won't let it rest, but I won't necessarily throw it against you anymore like I used to when I was, in my younger days. Go ahead.
I was going to say things like, I'm not worthy, I don't deserve this, and that kind of judgment on myself.
Well, you.
Things like that.
In some ways, this inner dialogue, this self-talk, this negative self-talk can be very hurtful and very programming. It programs how you are, programs how you begin to express yourself towards other people. And so if you're self-condemnative towards you, then it becomes very easy to be condemnative of other people as well. And so really, the cleanup starts at home. The cleanup starts behind your heart, behind your eyes. So if you can clean up your own negative inner dialogue, then you can also begin to clean up the dialogue that you have with other people. Okay, it's a very important thing that Amelia brings up, because most of us will have times of negative inner dialogue, or what I would call self-hurtful inner dialogue. And unless you're making observations that are geared towards self-corrective measures, then you're just hurting yourself. You're stabbing yourself with a fork. And I want you to reconsider that activity. Seriously reconsider the activity. Once again, the Kundalini is a very, very amplified force of grace within you. And as you self-condemn, well, the Kundalini may make that really, really strong. And therefore, as you self-condemn and you initiate condemnative practices on other people, well, once again, that's very, very, very strong. And I'm not saying it's any better if you're not awakened, but I can only speak really to awakened, or those who are searching for the awakening. The noble qualities must be expressed, and compassion for yourself and compassion to other people are part of those noble qualities, and they're also part of divine truth. of the nobility, the noble suite of qualities that the Kundalini will insist that you participate with. The thing is, these noble qualities are amplified as well. And so as you engage in them, as you engage in a positive inner dialogue toward yourself about how you are and what you are and who you are and where you've been and what you're doing, as you engage in a positive dialogue, those qualities become amplified. And as you begin to engage others in an exterior dialogue, well, those dialogues begin to take on a strain of truth, of divine truth. And it's this truth that begins to uplift the people you're talking with instead of, dragging them down. Think about this. Think about this and how you can change that inner dialogue to express a positive force upon yourself, and from that self, that positive self-identification to a positive identification of other people and their selves and how they feel as they walk through life doing whatever it is they're doing. Judge not lest ye be judged is a very, very powerful reminder of what our responsibilities are in life. Certainly with the Kundalini, absolutely with the Kundalini. And you know how I feel about absolutism. With the Kundalini, it is very, very important that you begin to redirect the nature of your thinking. Redirect the understanding of how far and how strong your thoughts are reaching other people. I've told you that a fully awakened human being has a magnetic radiance that is over about a mile in diameter. Think about that. Think about that, and think about where you are in your awakening or activation process and the people that you're affecting without even knowing it. The radiance, if you're living in an apartment and you say you don't know your neighbors, well, your radiance goes right into their living room, right into their bedroom, right into their bathroom, right into their refrigerator and the food that they're eating. One of the interesting things about having Kundalini in this timeline, in this Western developmental society, technological society, is having Kundalini here now with all of these gadgets and all of this interaction and communication with people all over the world via the internet and via books and TV and movies and radio and music. It's very interesting to have the Kundalini these days because in the past, a Kundalini person would have been sequestered in a monastery or sequestered in a temple or sequestered in the jungle. Even in just like 150 years ago, people would have been thrown into a psych ward snake pit where they would have lived out the rest of their life in sheer terror and trauma and horror. But these days, we have the opportunity to really begin to change this world. As we change ourselves, we can accept ourselves as Kundalini awakened people. We can accept ourselves as Kundalini activated people. We can accept ourselves as those who are searching for and yearning for and practicing towards these truths, these noble qualities. And by going for them and expressing them, we are changing this world, changing this paradigm. It's a very special time to be alive and to be Kundalini activated and awakened or searching for those qualities. It's a very, very special time to have this. Appreciate it, know it, realize it. Even to this day, there are people in some parts of the world where when they want to seek Kundalini, well, they'll go to the old ways and they'll make sure their family's taken care of, but they leave that family and they go live in the forest. or they go live in the desert, and they begin to wander, through those ecosystems in order to find the Shakti Kundalini. Well, no more do you have to do that. Certainly not in the Western tradition. The Western tradition does not support that, partly because, the Western tradition is eating up all the forests and the jungles and the ecosystems. And we can also begin to change that as well. As we go out and we extend our noble qualities to our fellow mortals, the animals, the insects, the fish, the flowers, the plants, the trees, the air, the water, the oceans. As we begin to manifest these noble qualities into the many, many different classifications of life upon this planet, those that we haven't even discovered yet, we are divine points of radiance. And in that radiance, we can begin to join with each other, as we have with these seminars, and as we do in this broadcast, and as we do on the different networks that I mentioned at the start of the program. We can begin to change this world and increase the divine level of expression, increase the levels of love, increase the levels of appreciation and for diversity and vive la différence and all of these qualities that make this such an interesting place to be alive and such an interesting place to have the Kunalini in. Think about these things. And if you want to make a comment or have a question, call this number, 347-934-0026. This is a live broadcast all over the world, as Her Holiness Amelia Centaura indicated on her Facebook page. Seriously, we are all over the world right now. I'm coming to you from apartment of Amelia's daughter, Vani, in the city of Cork, in the county of Cork, in the eastern part of Ireland. Am I right? Eastern part? Is that right, Vaughn? South. Forgive me, South. An old Viking city, from what I hear. And here you are. Rosemary's listening in Minnesota. Eileen is listening in Florida. Julie's listening in one of the Carolinas, I believe it's South Carolina. And you all are listening wherever you are in this world. Begin to change your levels of judgmentalism towards yourself and others, towards the animals and the plants and the environment, towards others on a different spiritual path than you are. Begin to release any level of discomfort you may have because somebody's different than you. Begin to embrace the diversity and differences in the natures and the expressions of development towards divine qualities that other people have in this world. Be open to changing your inner dialogue towards yourself, and as you do that, towards other people. Think about this. Feel it. Feel it in my words. Listen to the Kundalini in my voice and begin to understand the Kundalini in your voice. Looks like we might have a call. All right, since I don't have a screener, here we go. Right off the bat. Hello, caller. How are you?
Couldn't be better.
Oh, Jake.
Yes, sir. Miss you guys. Hello to Amelia's big family there, and love you, and thanks for everything.
Jake, it's so good to hear your voice. How's your blood sugar?
Oh, great. Couldn't be better. Oh, good to hear you guys. I won't say much because you're saying it all what I need to hear. Oh. And thanks so much for everything. We'll see you guys soon.
I hope so. I hope to see you soon.
It's funny, because I was going to come. My exes, which are my relatives, all just came from Denmark, so there was probably a reason I'm here, whatever. But really good talk, and I won't judge anyone from now on, not even Eleonora.
I tell you, Eleonora, hello, Eleonora, and thank you both for listening. Jake, I really just want to say again my appreciation for the work that you do with the veterans.
Thank you. My appreciation for all that you give us in the spiritual and the K community. And Eleanor is right here.
I just want to please continue to do that, my friend, and take out those artificial sugars. Would you please?
Yes, he will. Yes, it's me. And I love you and I miss you all. Emilia, love you, baby. Yeah. I wish we were here. Remember, I was already ready to go, but then, Jake changed his decision.
Well, we miss you too, Eleonora, and we will see you and Jake again soon. I know we will. And thank you for your hospitality. And, it was wonderful being with you for the seminar and for those days afterwards. Blessings and love to the two of you.
I want to go visit. I want to go visit the Piney Barrens or whatever you guys call that in New Jersey. So.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to take you to where a guy saved like a whole hotel by carrying them out during a fire. I think I told you that story.
Yeah.
And I have another. I'll take a copy of the Field and Stream from a century ago of another guy from there. I'll let you guys go. I love your work, and thanks for all you do, too. And I'm just listening. I'll shut up for once. Bye.
Bye, Jake.
Bye, Jake. Bye, Eleonora.
Bye, Amelia. Love you guys. Love to the family. I hear them all around you. Bye.
Shall I just put you on hold then to listen? Or are you listening on the computer? Okay. Well, there you go, folks. That's Jake and Eleonora, and they really do. They walk this talk in a very real way. I mean, really reaching out. Eleonora is reaching out to the people in Kiev. And by the way, just so you know, it's not pronounced Kiev. It's pronounced Kiev, and this was given us directly from a resident of Kiev, Eleonora, Jake's wife. And so she's reaching out to the people in Ukraine and helping that somewhat difficult situation right now. And so blessings to you, Jake. Blessings to you, Eleonora. And thank you so much for calling in and giving your grace into this program. Thank you very, very much. And so there you have it. I mean, really, I've never been to New Jersey before, and what a beautiful, gorgeous place that it is. I mean, it's not just what you kind of see on the TV. Not that I have TV, but I've kind of, I kind of drop into some of the society entertainments every now and again, and I think they call it Jersey Shore or something, like some sort of a reality-based program, and it's not that way at all. It's actually quite a very, very beautiful place with forests and if you're an American citizen, you're looking at a lot of the historical areas that we were taught in U.S. history in school. It's very cool. Amelia and I walked on a bridge in the middle of a snowstorm, going over the bridge the river that General Washington, during the Revolution back in 1776, they were crossing, all those times, and. A very, very wonderful, splendid visit that we had with Jake and Eleonora. And a time to really, really reflect on how our judgment reaches into those who are struggling, like the veterans, regardless of how you feel about the U.S. presence in various parts of the world, regardless of how you feel about that. These are human beings that are coming back in very, very difficult circumstances. And this is where our compassion needs to be given, as Jake is doing, and as Eleonora does with those in Ukraine. And so, begin to look at where your thoughts go, how your thoughts go. Doesn't mean you can't be amused, but maybe not always amused at the expense of a person. Someone different than you. Someone, you got the let me go through them. Geez, the spick jokes, the wop jokes, the patty jokes, the limey jokes, the gringo jokes, the Yankee jokes. It just goes on and on. Now, personally, I don't mind, hearing that type of thing, because for me, it's just a level of amusement that somebody is reaching for, and I can buy into that because my self-conversation doesn't get upset over that, because I can see the intent is just to be humorous and just to be amusing and not to be hurtful. But not everybody sees it that way, and so you really need to feel the group that you're with or the group that you're around, and like and Jake is a very, very amusing fellow. Oh my gosh, and Eleonora is amusing in her stoicism around his amusement, almost like she's heard every joke he's ever told. But he's a very amusing fellow, and that amusement is also a level of joy, and that joy is given to other people, and it allows them to just relax and laugh a little bit, or in Jake's case, a lot. He's an amazing man, and I would encourage all of you who belong to the Yahoo group networks, the Kundalini Awakening Systems 1 at Yahoo groups. Jake is on that group, and Eleanor is on that group, and join the group. Say hello to him, and share some amusement. Share some good stories of life with him and Eleanor, and they will with you as well. And this underscores how international we are. We have people from Ukraine, people from New Jersey, people from California, people from Australia, people from India, people from Africa, people from Europe, people from France, people from Asia, all within the Kundalini context, all within the Kundalini family of the inner divine expressing through the human body. Think about that. Think about how we encircle this globe with our energy, with our thoughts, with our divinity. Seriously, folks, think about this. And think about how you can just reach out with Kundalini and touch a star. And if you can reach out and touch a star, well, you can reach out and touch another Kundalini star in a body on this planet right now. Join any of those groups, and you can do that. By listening to Amelia, to Eileen, to Rosemary, to Jake and Eleonora, to myself. You see, Kundalini isn't bound by the restrictions of time. As you in the archives know, this energy can reach out to you in the real time that you're hearing this and listening this and interacting with this conversation that we're having right now, or any of the other past conversations. And you can begin to actively participate in that divine encircling of this globe, of this beautiful sphere of Kundalini evolution on this world. Consider this, know this, and enjoy it. Laugh out loud. Roll on the floor laughing, as they say, R-O-F, or, well, I won't say everything that they say. But really, bring some joy into your life through laughter, through amusement, but not at somebody else's expense, unless it's it's not, hurting another person. It's a very fine thing here I'm talking about. I can sit here and joke with Amelia about almost anything. I can sit there and joke with Jake about everything, because he jokes about everything and everyone. But you just have to see the love. honor the love of the Kundalini within you. And remember, we're very, very different from previous civilizations where Kundalini people were sequestered away, called witches, hung or drowned or burned at the stake, thrown into a psych ward, or whether it's a present-day psych ward or a pastime psych ward. We're very different now. We can have this, and we can have this in public. And yet, just because we can have it in public doesn't mean that we don't have great responsibility with how we're having this in public. One of the reasons why Kundalini people are sequestered away is because of their effect on the populations. And in this conversation, I would like to suggest that our effect upon the populations be positive and love-based, joy-based, inclusivity needs to be a catchphrase within this context. Not racist, not gender biased, or any of the biases that we have in our society. And as Jake is able to do, you can joke about your ex-wife or your ex-husband, as long as it's non-hurtful and non-judgmental. And Jake is very non-judgmental in his amusement. And yet it comes out so pure and so nice and so freely from him. He's like a spigot of amusement. And this is very helpful for people who are in extreme depressive states, as are some of the VAs and patients, and as are some of the patients, in a psych ward having Kundalini trauma at this very moment, as are some of the elderly people who are trapped in a convalescent hospital waiting to die without any communication from their family or friends. Make it a point. I will challenge you. Do what I do. Do what my other student does. And go out and visit people in a convalescent home. Do it more than once. Volunteer at that homeless shelter. Volunteer just to bring somebody their groceries if they're not able to do it themselves. Reach out into this society with your Kundalini, and your Kundalini will reach into your process with huge levels of bliss, huge levels of joy and love, and further evolution within the Kundalini path. I want to leave you with those words. And yes, it's a little bit shorter of a time, but we're in somebody's home right now. And whether or not they're listening, they're trying to sleep. They got to go to work tomorrow. So I want to leave you with this, and I want to just offer this bliss and this grace and these noble understandings with regards to your Kundalini awakening experience. And I'm going to hand it over to Amelia so she can also say goodbye to you in her own way.
That was wonderful. I'm sitting here next to Chrism listening to his words, and as often happens to me when I'm at home in my kitchen in Kerry, and Chrism asks me a question, and he goes, "Are you there?" I feel a little bit like that now because I become very absorbed with what he's saying, and it connects so much with my Kundalini, and it is the correct thing to do, and it's what I want to do and do more. And so thank you, Chrism, for everything that you've spoken about from your Kundalini to us here. Wonderful. So goodbye, everybody, and see you again next week.
Yes, everyone, goodbye, and thank you for listening live around the world, and thank you for listening in the future for those who visit the archives, and we'll see you next week.